Good afternoon. You're watching Businesswolrd Live. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Tuesday. All right, the index finally snapping out of its two-day retreat here after gaining 0.3% to 6,881. You have investors at least on bargain hunting mode after shares fell a 1.1% earlier in the trading day. But despite that, net foreign selling still gaining momentum here in the index. It's the third day of dumping of local stocks here with net sales today at 216.4 million pesos. But let's zoom in on one exciting stock today. I'm referring to telco giant PLDT. This as a stock soared to 2017 highs after its digital bank got license approval from the Banco Central. Again, the stock rose as much as 8.3%, but pared back those gains to 6%. That massive jump again comes after the BSP gave the green light for Voyager's digital bank license, according to Carlos Temporal of AP Securities. The approval increases the present value of growth opportunities for the telco's fintech venture, which he says may now be more than just an e-wallet and digital payment platform. According to him, there's more room for upside as digital banking venture is yet to be priced into its valuation. Again, PLDT concludes the session to its highest yet since 2017, now at 1,600 apiece. But it's not just PLDT, quite a number of blue chips making hefty gains on Tuesday. For one, you have the LT Group gaining by 5% here. Also on fourth day of gains here, now at least at 10 pesos a piece. Also, you have Aboitiz Equity Ventures extending its rally also for a fourth day, now at 54 pesos and 20 centavos a piece. That's after it made a climb of as much as 7.2%. But that optimism on Aboitiz Equity Ventures not carried over into its energy unit, Aboitiz Power, even as it cleared issuance of 12 billion pesos worth of fixed retail bonds. Aboitiz Power cuts its four-day winning streak, ending the session down to 32 pesos and 10 centavos a piece. That's a decline of as much as 4%. Now, let's take a look at two firms recently included in the FTSE. Diverging outcomes here for in today's trade for Double Dragon and AREIT. Both indices again added to the FTSE. For AREIT, they are included in the FTSE EPRA Nareit Asia X Japan, the first Philippine REIT to do so. At the same time, Double Dragon, on the other hand, is under the FTSE Global Equity Index series. They are hoping that the inclusion will increase their exposure to global investors. Like what I said earlier, diverging performance here for both stocks here. Double Dragon is up 7.5% as represented by the lower chart here, now at 10 pesos and 88 centavos a share, while AREIT is down close to 0.3% to 38 pesos a piece. Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. Experts say the Philippines is currently on its fourth wave of COVID-19 infections, the most severe since the pandemic began. Infectious disease expert Dr. Ron Jean Solantes said that the current COVID-19 situation is worse and more serious than the three previous waves of infections. This assessment was based on the very high ICU utilization in hospitals and the rise in cases among adults over 50 years old and the younger population. He says the situation worsened due to the spread of the more infectious Delta variant, as well as higher mobility observed in this year's lockdowns. Octa Research Group's father, Nicanor Austriaco, meanwhile, noted that although cases are now showing a negative growth rate, this fourth wave could be the longest one yet, now already a week longer than the previous one. Lawmakers from the Makabayan bloc have filed a bill seeking to impose a wealth tax on, quote, super rich Filipinos. The so-called Super Rich Tax Act of 2021 aims to impose a tax of 1 to 3% depending on the extent the assets exceeded 1 billion pesos. The bill proposes a 1% rate on taxable assets exceeding 1 billion pesos, a 2% rate on assets above 2 billion pesos, and a 3% rate on assets above 3 billion pesos. Authors of the measure estimate that at least 236 billion pesos would be collected per year from ultra rich Filipinos. The bill proposes January 1 next year as its effectivity date. Revenue from the wealth tax will be used for medical assistance and social assistance for poor families. According to Forbes, the country's richest 50 saw their collective wealth grow by up to 30% during the pandemic. Though internet connection is still expensive for Filipinos, a report says bandwidth quality has improved this year. Cybersecurity company Surfshark reports that Filipinos would have to work approximately 5 hours to afford the cheapest broadband internet package, although this was 2 hours and 18 minutes less than last year. From 66th place, the Philippines rose to the 48th spot in the Digital Quality of Life Index, which ranks 110 countries in terms of how digitally advanced they are. Surfshark says countries all over the world have improved their digital landscape as it has proved very important for remote operational capacities of their economies. Despite improvements in internet costs, the Philippines remains on the lower end of the internet affordability sub-index ranking, 72nd globally. That improvement in the country's internet landscape comes at a time when the pandemic constrained traditional work setups. One sector that has quickly adopted to the changes is the business process outsourcing industry, but it now has only a few months left to revert operations to their offices. The finance department said off-site work arrangements for BPOs in economic zones will only be allowed until March next year. To find out what this means for the sector, we have IBPAP Executive Director for External Affairs and Investor Relations, Ricky Salvador. Good afternoon, Ricky.
Hi, good afternoon, Jester, and to your
Okay, so
viewers.
first, give us an idea how much of the sector's workforce is currently on a remote work arrangement?
Okay. So currently, based on our last survey, around 65% are on 70%, 70-30 work from home setup. No? And we have 100 companies doing 90% work from home.
Mhm. Of course, this particular order by the finance department covers at least BPOs located in economic zones. Give us an idea first. How many BPOs are said to be affected by this order by the DOF?
Actually, this is a positive development for the BPO sector. First of all, we would like to thank the government for extending the work from home arrangement. It was originally set until September 12, but
Mhm.
then the Department of Finance, through the FIRB, extended it to the end of March, so March 31 of 2022. Um, so that is the current situation, and it will benefit our sector immensely because we will still continue to enjoy the incentives.
Mhm. Again, more to my question earlier, how many sectors, how many BPOs rather, are located in economic zones if we at least have an estimate or data on that one?
Yes, I think based on our last count, no, it's been, well, majority of course are in the
Mhm.
eco zones. So because they
Mhm.
are availing of the incentives, but at the same time, I think based on PEZA's last report, about I think it's about 900 to 1,000 locators that
Mhm.
were
Mhm.
in the eco zones.
Okay, now Ricky, again, like what you said, this is positive news here for the sector. But once that 90% gap lapses by March next year, if the state emergency is no longer extended beyond January 1st, that means the cap will be lowered to 75%. Are you amenable to that, or would you rather maintain that 90% of the workforce to still be on work from home mode?
Yes, our position is while the pandemic is ongoing, it's very ideal, no? for us to be at the 90%, because like what I mentioned, about 100 companies are at the 90-10 level. And of
Mhm.
course, you would want that maintained while we're still in this crisis. So while the FIRB put March 31, 2022, we're still trying to appeal a longer duration. And it will depend. No? I think we've been asking for extensions. No? If you'll recall, this was previously set until the end of 2020, December 31, 2020, and then we asked for additional time, so they extended it to September of 2021, and then we appealed again, and now it's extended till March 31, 2022. So I guess the tack would be the same. Probably will still continue to appeal while there is still a pandemic.
But is the sector already making adjustments here? Are you, in a way, little by little, scaling up at least your operations in physical offices?
It's a balancing act, no? It really our priority is the health and safety of the employees, number one. So as long as we are able to keep them healthy and safe, either on a work from home mode or partial on site, we'll continue to do that. I guess the next question would be is how are we going to manage, no, moving forward? I guess the answer there is the hybrid model, because this has been talked about by our members, and based on our last survey, strawman survey, it seems that a lot of our members are managing through this hybrid model.
Mhm. Now, also, of course, a part of the picture would have to be vaccination efforts. How's the industry doing so far when it comes to the inoculation of your employees?
Well, we have been able to, number one, inoculate a good number of our employees through the vaccines that we procured through the tripartite agreement. So we procured more than 1 million doses, and we roughly have 1.3 million workers in the IT BPO sector. And aside from that, we have been cooperating with the LGUs. We have we currently have memorandum of agreements with Quezon City, Makati, and we just signed one with Taguig. And then we also have in the works Pasay and Mandaluyong. So these five LGUs have been able to inoculate workers from our sector, and we would like to thank them as well. So the vaccination is ongoing, and so far so good.
Mhm. Now, of course, Ricky, even as a pandemic rages on, the sector still managed to grow even last year. This time around, how are things looking for the BPO sector?
Right. So we're still cautiously optimistic. No, we're projecting a growth of 5% in FTE. So we're targeting 1.43 million Filipinos by the end of 2022, and revenue growth of 5.5%, or revenue in the range of 29.1 billion US dollars by the end of 2022. And of course, these are conditioned on several strategic imperatives that we are working on. Number one is to accelerate digital transformation or acceleration, and even skills upscaling, talent rescaling, and other imperatives. No? So as long as we play our cards right, I think we should hit the numbers that we are targeting.
All right. Still, of course, again, like what you mentioned, cautiously optimistic for the year here for the BPO sector. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. IVB PAP's Executive Director for External Affairs and Investor Relations, Ricky Salvador. Thank you,
Thank you,
Ricky.
Jester.
And those are the biggest stories this trading day, September 21, 2021. Catch Business World Live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos, and we are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.